Hey bro, come on a bike with me so we can talk about programming and your problem of how you can't train all the qualities you want because you don't have the time. You're always trying to squish everything into 1 week, or you end up dropping exercises because, again, you don't have the time. Well, there's one simple solution. Stop forcing yourself to work on a weekly schedule. Yeah, it really is that simple. And here's some ways that you can do that. You can have either an A week or a B week. You can operate on a 9-day split. You can have some select few exercises that you do the same way every single week, and then rotate some of your other exercises so that you have some consistency with some things, but then everything else can get worked as well. The options really are endless, and I've done all this with clients and patients as well. And yeah, it does work for rehab too. It doesn't need to just be training. And it's because there's actually no rules around training. I know that's a mind-blowing concept. There's nothing that says that you have to do the same thing every single week or else you'll blow up. Open your mind, detach yourself from that idea of the sameness, and just let yourself get creative. And I think this kind of issue really comes from a lot of short-sighted goals. So everyone always thinks, oh, I'm gonna do this 4 to 8 week block and I'm gonna go hard on it and I'm gonna be an absolute unit after. And I'm just hyper-focused on it. And then you don't think about, okay, what about in 12 weeks? What about in 52 weeks? What about in 104 weeks, right? 2 years from now. Everything's so short-sighted. Everyone's just focusing on now and the result. They're not thinking about the process at all. They're just like, hey, I want to be this unit. And I'm going to do this very, very short time period to get there. I'm sorry, but that's not how training and adaptation works. I really wish it was that simple, but it is not. And then even if you are thinking long-term, there's still this idea of sameness. And I think that really comes from bodybuilding and powerlifting a lot, because you have these blocks where it's hyper-specific and you're focused on these certain goals. So you just work on one quality. Bodybuilding, you're really just working on hypertrophy. Powerlifting, you're mostly just working on strength. There should be some hypertrophy in there, but a lot of times that gets slacked off on. But it's these specific goals that just get hyper-focused on, and you're just doing it again and again and again. And training is really monotonous, and again, usually is pretty short-sighted. People are usually thinking, okay, my next competition this year, my last year as a junior, I'm going to get all these competitions and go to Nats and everything. But then they don't think about what they're going to do in 10 years when they're in their 30s, or in 20 years when they're in their 40s. All they care about is right now. They don't think about training for life. It's always just for this one short-term goal, trying to be jacked, trying to be strong, trying to be a unit. Again, and they always think that it's like, okay, this next block, these next few blocks will get me there. It's my one push and then I'm done for good, which I don't think is a very good way to look at training. But what will get you to be a unit is long-term consistency and effort in training. Talking about just going to the gym, putting in effort and lifting weights for years. That will turn you into a unit if you're trying hard. And the easiest way to try hard on something and be consistent with it is to have fun doing it and love the process. Not loving that outcome, not loving becoming a unit, becoming jacked, or even becoming resilient for this channel. You know, that's pretty prominent, but loving the process of doing that, loving the process of going in and putting in the work to become resilient. That's what you have to fall in love with. That's what you have to find fun in and find what you actually enjoy out of it. And if you look outside of just fitness and just kind of look at people who are successful in anything, they've usually found a way to enjoy the process so that they keep showing up consistently. So you look at some good guitar players, right? They find ways to practice guitar that's really fun. You just spend all your time practicing theory, you're going to be bored, and then you're going to stop the instrument, right? Think of it as a kid. If you got sent to piano lessons or guitar lessons or any kind of instrument lessons, and the teacher was trying to teach you a bunch of theory, and your parents were making you practice theory after school, you probably don't play that instrument anymore. But if you had time to be creative with it, find what was meaningful to you and explore, then you'd be having fun with it, and you'd probably still be playing it. You'd be way better at it now than you were, you'd be way better at it than you are now. You can take this for anyone, like lifters too. They find fun in some of the monotonous things, yeah, but they find fun ways to keep training. This is why a lot of strongmen are really good, because it's fun to train like that. You're training a bunch of different qualities all the time. So you're going to be consistent, and you're just going to be pushing yourself You're going to keep going. But again, when they're doing this, showing up in this process, not weeks, it's not months. Nobody became a pro strongman from one block. Nobody became a famous musician or a really good guitar player, a guitar virtuoso from just practicing a few weeks at a time, not even a few months. It takes years. That's the long-term consistency that's needed. You really need to stop focusing so short, days, weeks, months even, and change it to that long-term years. Stop thinking, okay, I'm going to be a unit after this block. Think, okay, in 5 years, 10 years, I'm going to be a unit. I'm going to be a unit in a bunch of different qualities. You're going to be way more well-rounded, and you're not going to be suffering from just having this one quality. Because again, this short-sightedness and this 4 to 8 week block, again, it's usually really hyper-specific. So you're training 1 or 2 qualities, and everything else is going down the drain. So you get the people saying, oh, this bodybuilder sucks at this sport. Yeah, no duh, because they don't train those qualities. But if you spend some time training those qualities, you're probably going to surprise people. So if you're training everything, at least a little bit, you're going to be a lot further along than you would be if you just focus really hard on one thing, go hard, and then have that fall off, lose that motivation, become depressed with it, and stop going or stop giving your best effort. Even if it's not as consistent of doing the same thing, but the efforts are always there, and you're training other qualities, which are still going to have carryover, you're going to make a lot more long-term progress. This is why you see this in long-term athlete development too. At the beginning of the careers, it's about playing a bunch of different sports, doing a bunch of different movements, developing all qualities. And not until way later on when they're at the top level, kind of like hyper specializing. Going back to the examples of success, you probably have those examples with yourself, right? What's one thing that you did that you're still doing probably that you enjoy, that you became really good at because you enjoyed the process? Or if you don't have that example, you probably have the antithesis of it where, you hated something. You just forced yourself to do it because you were so focused on the outcome. And then you gave up after 4 weeks, or you got through it and then you just kind of gave it up, right? Instead of like studying something because you really enjoy it and you're interested in it and you're curious about it, so you keep pursuing it. It's one of those classes, that you're taking and you're like, okay, I'm just going to get through it, get the mark I need to, and then never look at it again. That same kind of idea. Find that fun and enjoyment so that you stick with it long term rather than this one push to get this outcome. That small outcome is not what's fulfilling. The process is what's fulfilling. Loving that process and finding ways to make it meaningful to you is so fulfilling. So yeah, if you're having fun, you're going to be consistent with it. Your effort's going to be there. And then years down the line, you're going to be an absolute all-around unit. Thank you for listening to me ramble while I got my cardio in. Now go out there and make some gains.